are you good? All right.
Obviously, we're coming off a bye week, so there's not a whole lot to talk about the last one. But bye weeks are always unique, and for more than anything, I always tell them, it's not like you get healthy over a bye week, but you do have a chance to get a little bit healthy in some different ways. And so it was great for our players, and even for some of the coaches. I know they're on the road recruiting a lot of times in the bye week, but for our players to kind of get out of here a little bit on Friday, Saturday, and then get back in here later on Sunday. So I hope they took advantage of it. It looks like they did. As they come back with a little bit of freshness and ready to take a run at this thing, about a midpoint of the season. So, I don't want them to walk back in here like I told them and think you're going to feel perfect. Like, oh, this is like the beginning of the year. This is like the beginning of fall camp. That's not going to be the case. But more than anything, your mind kind of gets an opportunity to relax over a weekend, as long as you don't watch a whole lot of football and your mind starts to race watching some of the craziness of Saturdays. But I know for me, for a lot of our coaches, and for sure for the guys, it was a good little at least break to get away from each other, kind of refocus and have an opportunity to whether it's visit, be with some family and things like that, but then roll back in here and know we got a stretch ahead of us.
Chad Brendel, Bearcat Journal.
I forgot who you were.
It's been a while.
I know.
I wanted to remind
you.
You.
Didn't show up at any practices, but that's okay. Let's go.
Did it feel like this was, sometimes it maybe the bye week's too early, sometimes maybe it feels like you're never going to get there, being right in the middle, did that feel kind of ideal?
I mean, I guess if you could put it any place, if you had your pick, you would say it'd be best to be in the middle, but you never know based on your season. There's times early in the season you wish you had one, there's times later in the season you wish you had one. So I think for us, yes, it did come, I think, at a pretty good time, and a time when a break probably was needed, and maybe some of those guys with a little bit of nicks and bruises, and the way the last game went. Hopefully the timing was right for us to get back. But there's a momentum shift in things too as you're rolling through a season. So there's never exact right time, but I think if you could pick it, you'd choose it in the middle, and I think it was good for us.
In terms of guys getting healthy, Ben and Tyler specifically went out in that USF game. Any update on how they're doing?
No, I mean, obviously Ben has been able to get back. I think some of the concussion protocol type of stuff, but you don't hit a quarterback anyway. So I think that you've got some uniqueness there. And Tyler's still a guy that we're hoping throughout the rest of this week he'll continue to get better and better and be able to play. Like I said, you want those guys to be at their best in order to play. And the uniqueness that we've got is we have a more depth that you don't want to put a guy out there that's not going to be able to play and perform at the best of his ability. So we'll see as we continue to push along, but we don't have anything as of yet.
I believe you're 4-1 coming out of the bye. Research. Is there anything?
High level.
Is there anything specific, a method you guys follow, a path you guys follow? For the
No,
bye?
I think we try to put a plan in place way before time, and I think that's so that you don't try to adjust based on where you are. Obviously you got to adapt a little bit, but if you come off a bad week and all of a sudden you say you're going to change up everything, you're going to keep everybody here for the whole week, you're going to practice 5 times, you're going to go full pads, and I think that would be a little bit impulsive. So we put a plan in place before the season. If we have to improvise and adapt a little bit, we do. But the idea is to get some good work, but also to get a little bit of time to kind of relax, free your minds, and get back in here with a nice fresh start to, in this case, the second half of the season.
If I may look back to move forward, bear with me. You had a season low penalties and season low penalty yards last game. Do you hope that maybe is that growth and that maturity that you're looking for?
We continue to talk about it. There's no doubt. I think that I don't know that there's, but then watching this weekend, so there was a lot of penalties in some of those bigger games as well. So I think we're all kind of preaching the same things. It was one of the real positives, I think, from the last game from 2 weeks ago, that we did have much fewer penalties, and I think we played a little bit more disciplined. There's a lot of things we can do a lot better as well. But I think that's a combination of what we're doing. That's something we emphasized over the break here and through the bye week, and we'll see how we've grown, and not just in this coming week, but really in the second half of the season.
New coach at SMU, what have you seen maybe that they do differently this season?
Well, we have played him, so he was the offensive coordinator there a few years ago. In a lot of ways, there's some similarities to what they've done. I think it's a group offensively that's going to be very similar in what they have been, and I mean that with an up-tempo, throwing the football. Obviously, the quarterback is a really good football player, and I think that more than anything, they want to put the ball in his hands, let him kind of run the show and control the offense. But I don't know exactly what I would say that we haven't studied last year's film as much just because of the new coaching staff. But I think that all those things kind of add up. But there's more similarities I think there are than the differences. And I'm sure the university knew that when they were hiring somebody because they had done a really good job and they had some really good pieces in place already.
As a guy that thinks defense first, what does your mind think when you see a guy like Tanner Mordecai, who's supposed to be a pocket passer, running 75 yards for a touchdown?
I mean, just because the guy throws the ball really well, everybody assumes he's just a pocket passer and he doesn't run the football. But I think that's, where I think he can be really sneaky. He can run. And, I think we've seen that in the past. And maybe, for somebody that I would say I won't call you the lay person, but, for the normal fan that might not realize a guy can run unless he goes 75 yards. I mean, a guy that goes 15 or 20 yards, a guy that goes 6 yards into the end zone, you gotta respect them, the ability to run the football. And I think that probably a little bit more eyes are open because he went 70 or 75 yards last week. But the last time we played him, I felt like he was a very capable runner, and he picks and chooses the times to do it. But in a big play, in a big time, in the situations that he's got a lot of ability to make some things happen with his feet as well.
Corey Kiner also missed the USF game. Do you just have any update on him heading into this?
He should be fine. He should be fine. It wasn't anything major. Obviously, it was one of those things that just probably held him out for that week. But he's been back in practice, and hopefully won't have any setbacks.
The recent success against SMU. I know it's a new group. Is there anything different that you guys are trying to do this week? Because it's being at the helm and others.
No, I think more than anything, we've got to recognize we're on the road, and road games in league are really, really difficult. And I think the score can be misleading if you look at it from 2 years ago. It was a battle, and it was a hard-fought game. And in the fourth quarter, it went a little bit lopsided. We obviously they turned the ball over. We had a big long 80-yard run or something by the quarterback or whatever it was. And so the score may look a little bit lopsided, but then 2 years before that, we had an overtime game against them. So it's been a battle the last 2 times we've been there. We got to make sure we understand that, we recognize that, and then we always are talking about the environments that we're going to walk into, and so I think that's important for us. And we're talking about the maturity of our team is to understand what kind of environment we're going to walk into.
You mentioned Mordecai's running ability, maybe not the same as what Arkansas or USF did, but they had some success running the ball with the quarterback. Is there anything you've noticed, especially in that week off, in terms of defensively things to do?
No, I don't. I don't think there's any one particular thing that we've got to do better. It's more, just the little things, the fundamentals of things, and then be able to adjust. At week 1, we probably knew a lot more that the guy was going to run the football, and just did an okay job against the run with him. I think South Florida, not say we didn't expect him to run the ball. In only one game had he really run the ball for 15, 16 times, and that was the Florida game, which was the game they were best in. And it turned a little bit more into that. And we just got to do a better job at making some of those adjustments and adapting. And I think that they'll run the ball. He'll run the ball this week as well. Maybe different. Most of his pulls are out over the edge. But as you saw, a touchdown on a scramble might have only been 18 yards. I know that you don't think that the guy, just because he went 18 yards, can run. I guess he's got to go 75 to recognize that he can run. But the 18-yard run for a touchdown was, in my mind, more impressive than the 75-yard run. But I think that's always the thing that I think good offenses have an opportunity to do.
Third down on both sides of the ball in the past couple games, probably not where you would want it to be. Is there anything you saw over the bye week, some self-scouting maybe that cleared some things up?
It's hard to just pinpoint one thing because we've studied that. That's what you do over the bye week. I think offensively it's a little bit simpler sometimes to pinpoint when you say, okay, when you're in 3rd and long, you're not as good. When you're in 3rd and short and 3rd and medium, you're better. So what's that mean? It means be better on 1st down. Reality. Defensively, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. We're better on 3rd and medium, and we're not real good on 3rd and long. And we're a lot better on 3rd and extra long. So it's hard to pinpoint one exact thing, but that was definitely a focus for both offense and defense, over the break.
Joe and then Justin.
You mentioned, Coach, talking about road games and environments that you're walking into. As your program has ascended to conference championships now back-to-back years, and taking the profile up even higher, have you noticed best shots, tougher environment, teams coming after you because of the profile you now have?
Well, I mean, I do think, obviously, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when we went to, when we were on the road, obviously, at Tulsa, we knew it was going to be like that. We hadn't been there since we were here. We obviously canceled a game there. I think in general on the road, when you have won the league, I think you are. I mean, everybody takes their shots at the champs, and so we obviously put ourselves in a position to take some of those shots. Basically all we say is we're not sneaking up on anybody. After year 2 and year 3, I think we still had an opportunity to sneak up on people. Maybe people didn't believe we were, as good as we were, and they probably didn't do as much studying at the end of the off season. Where, maybe I know for us when we weren't the champs of the league, when we were still, trying to find our way and still scratch and claw, we were always studying the guys who were the best, and whether it was in our league or outside of our league. We continue to do the same thing, but I don't know. Maybe in some of your off-season studies, that you do as much of that. And I can't say that everybody does that for us. I think there are some natural rivalries that we've created in the last few years. I know this, that 2 years ago when we went there, it was a much tougher game than maybe what the score looks like. And the year before, 2 years before that, we went there, it was an overtime game. With them being a new coach, I think in the league, I think everybody, I'm sure they look at it in a similar way. But if you're playing the guys who are the returning champs, I think it does add a little something.
In that same sense, is it tough to not couple the back-to-back road games together? Do you have to remind guys not to look ahead to the second one at all?
Yeah, I don't think our guys do look ahead of things. I just think that we're young enough that the moment is still really big for us, and I think us handling and focusing on the moment is where we got to continue to grow. We know we feel more comfortably at home. You walk out there, it's electric. You got everybody behind you. You got that student section that's unique. And I think on the road, it's always a little bit different. And, I don't know that, not that you have everybody behind you, not that it's, crazy and they're going to be, after you and booing you, but, sometimes it's not quite as electric. And, you've got to be able to manage whatever the situation is going to be. And I think that's what we've got to be able to do.
To piggyback on kind of being the hunted, Zach Taylor talked Sunday about the Bengals getting a lot of stuff from opponents that wasn't on tape. So preparing for a team and then the team doing something else. How much of that have you guys seen, and how difficult does that make game planning, knowing they're probably going to throw stuff at us we haven't?
You know what? I don't know that we get a ton of things that we haven't expected. I think that in some ways is, maybe you lost a lot of players, so they're not envisioning that, like, hey, this is a team that's, maybe like it was last year. Like, okay, we got to change up some things because, they believe you're this good. I think that, I don't know that we've seen as much of that this year. I think you always get some new things and some different things, but I wouldn't go on a limb to say we've gotten so many different things this year because of, winning the league the last 2. I don't think that's the case. Again, what was South Florida a little bit different in the quarterback running the football, and they hadn't done that. You could say maybe they came in there with that philosophy because we were the reigning champs. I probably would also say that they've evolved and they were in the game more, that allowed them to run the quarterback more. Where in the games before that they probably had gotten down really big early, and they needed to throw the ball a little more. So I wouldn't put us on some level where we think that we're getting a lot of different things. I think we just gotta be able to make some of those adjustments and adapt in a game where, because everybody's gonna have some things a little bit different.
Some of the advanced stats on your offensive line are really good in terms of like yards before contact, rushing and stuff like that. With Jake going out early, and I know maybe first couple of weeks the run game wasn't where you wanted it to be. What have you seen these last couple in terms of improvement?
I think consistency. I think that now those guys have been consistent enough to work together for 5-6 weeks. Where even in fall camp we were still kind of figure out what the 5 was going to be, and had Jake in there, then you were moving other guys around. So I think that in that position in particular, the consistency and the ability to work together is so incredibly important. And So I hope and believe that that's what we've seen through the first 6 weeks of the season. Those guys continue to work together, be consistent in what we're doing, and we also figure out what we do well. And I think that, so that adds to it as well. I don't study those stats that you got there, but I know just from watching it that I feel like our guys are in a much better place and done a really good job continuing to grow at the offensive line in particular.
Joe?
One more if I may, Coach. Desmond Ritter comes back this Sunday. The Cincinnati Falcons are here. I am curious as he's gone on again, and even the other guys. Do you still stay in contact with those guys throughout the week? Do you send text messages just to see how they're doing? How does that relationship work when they leave here?
Not on a consistent basis. You know, as they go to camp and things like that, you know, I think that more than anything, you got the utmost respect for what they're doing, and I'm sure they feel the same way. And you know, if you know, if after your Sunday, sometimes you see something, Myjai Sanders gets his first sack, you know, a lot of times you would shoot him a message, and Kobe Bryant, some of those things. But you know, it's kind of hard to, you know, to stay on top of all those things. And the nice thing is you know, last year we've got a few more that are actually playing, so it would probably take up a lot more time. But you know, we love it when they come back, and some of that off-season stuff, and then the preseason stuff as well. But that doesn't mean we're not following them, and I can promise you that. I think that we all take pride in seeing what those guys do. We might not get to watch, but I can promise you part of my routine is every Sunday night, as you lay in bed there at 11 o'clock, I go through the stats of all the guys that just to see where they are, see who was in, who got an opportunity to play, and you know, you wish I could tell you that I sent a message to every single one of them, but my message wouldn't be congrats, it would be thank you more than anything.
Thoughts on
I
sauce?
thought we were done.
Thoughts on sauce wearing cheese at around Lambeau Field?
I didn't get to see that. I know this. Whatever he does, it's in good humor, and it's nothing disrespectful. I don't know how it was taken or anything like that, but it doesn't surprise me. You know, but I know that you know, there was probably no disrespect meant. And if there was, I don't know what it all has come out of it, but I'm just happy to see those guys, you know, having fun doing what they're doing, and obviously having some success.
Any other questions? Thanks.
No, there's not. Okay.